Alright guys, Scrappy again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Day 1 of Major 2 here in Dallas is done and dusted. What a day we had. Drama from start to finish, certainly on the Call of Duty League side. A massive upset of the day as well. Couple of very interesting 3-0s. The tournament is shaping up to be incredibly interesting. There's no doubt about that. Many stories of the day. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Loved meeting some of you guys at the venue today, and that's only going to continue as the weekend goes on because today was probably the fewest fans there's going to be, and there were plenty of fans there today. It's going to ramp up throughout the rest of the weekend. Of course, we're going to start with the ring ceremony, right? It started off the day, and it was a phenomenal moment to be there in person, really, just to watch this from the crowd side. I was just standing here on the left-hand side of this kind of VIP section at the bottom, and to see the guys pick up their rings, of course. But the real moment was the Kenny piece, right? And I think that in many respects, this has probably worked out quite well for Kenny. Obviously, it's not been ideal, but had he still been on the team, I think the reception here would have been, he wouldn't have got booed, I don't think, but it would have been a little bit of a mixed reception. Whereas what we got today was the thank you Kenny chants. I thought were really wonderful to see. And it was cool to have an event like this, right? I mean, the fact that this is the type of stuff that Hex just does so well. Executing ideas like this in front of the fans, people turning up early to see the guys collect their rings. It was a really great moment, and we see some of the stuff like here as we see from Pred with his ring locked up. I saw, of course, this tweet here from Dashy as well. This is kind of a close-up look of the ring itself, and of course it has Dashy's name on the side of it as well. So, as expected, really cool one. And I like the fact that it was the OpTic gaming logo as well, part of the legacy for OpTic. This is a great shot as well of Dashy's brother. Like, I've seen Dashy's brother before, and I've been convinced it was actually Brandon, but no, look how similar they look. And shout out Mum and Dashy as well. I've not run into her so far this weekend, but, great family. And there's the ring, of course. So really cool to see. And this from Kenny, I thought was really hard, actually, looking back at his LA Thieves ring from a couple of years ago, what he's done with the new one. And he said, oh yeah, it was upside down, and then he flipped it around afterwards. So, yeah, he figured that one out. But, good to see for Kenny, right? Like, I still think there's a good future in Call of Duty ahead of Kenny. It just obviously wasn't working out on this team at the moment, and we saw the fans, give their perspective on Kenny and say thank you. Obviously, we even had it at the back of the crowd as well, in addition to, in the venue, the banner for World Champions OpTic Texas appearing on the back wall, which is also just a phenomenal piece of history. But for Kenny to get that moment, the fans to say thank you to him in person, I know that he was tweeting about it as well, how kind of grateful he was for the time that he's had on OpTic, as he said right about here, words can't describe my appreciation for you guys, love you guys. So I think it could be really good for his mental as well to be in the right spot going forwards, because obviously it's been a rather challenging few weeks for him, and there was a clip from Hex today saying that Kenny effectively made the call that, look, it's probably best if you guys move on before the major, and therefore that's what they went on to decide to do. So Kenny's out, I think he'll be back, and it was nice to see the fans, show some appreciation for what he did for the organisation, because sure, the last couple of months were rough, nobody is denying that, but without Kenny in that team last year, I don't think they were winning the World Championship, right? So, of course, a massive deal for OpTic Texas. This is the venue. They've done it slightly differently to last year, but they still do have the teams facing each other, which I think is the way to do it. It does create for better moments when the teams are opposite each other, as we saw in great detail today. And, we've got, like, the press office up here at the top side where I was spending a little bit of time. We've got a little suite up at the top as well, which is absolutely spectacular. Thanks to OpTic and everyone being so accommodating as ever. But this is the venue. It's, they're not using quite as many seats as last year because it's a major, it's not the World Championship. This is the trophy as well. I don't know if there's a better angle of it than this. It looks kind of cool. I mean, right, it's crystal looking thing, kind of see-through. I'd have liked it to have a bit more character, I guess. But still, that's what it looks like. Maybe there's another angle that looks a bit better. Nonetheless, it's a trophy. It's something a little bit different to what we normally get. Whether you massively like it, that's a matter for debate. Now, the big drama of the day was as follows. In addition, of course, to what we're going to discuss here with Thieves in just a second, but they finally confirmed today where Champs is going to be. And this has been known for some time that they were looking to do it in Toronto, right? But of course, it's unfortunately not in Toronto. Now, this is very frustrating for, I think, basically everyone in the scene. The last times they've done events in Toronto, it's been spectacular. They do it at the Mattamy Athletics Centre in the centre of downtown Toronto, and sure, it's a venue that for champs, I mean, they've sold it out for majors. They would sell it out and more for the World Championship. So I guess they decided that they wanted a bigger venue, but bigger venues in Toronto, presumably more expensive. So instead, they've chosen a venue out in Kitchener. And this is the venue in question. And if we zoom out here, you'll find that it's a rather long way from Toronto, right? Like, this is Brampton and Kitchener's out here. The drive from the airport to Kitchener is an hour at bare minimum. And I mean, like, what do you even say about this, right? It's super frustrating because the fans want it to be in Toronto. I'm sure there's lots of people that live in Toronto and want to attend that maybe don't have a car, and they're like, well, how am I even going to get there? Now, Toronto did tweet out that they are intending to like come up with some sort of travel accommodationing, basically, for people who want to go. As they say, we're working on options to provide experience for those that want to travel to the event. The thing that's most frustrating about this is the idea that they don't want to do it in the best venue, right? Like, we know that that's a great spot in downtown Toronto. They probably don't want to do it there because they think they can sell more tickets elsewhere, but, you know, respectfully, who's going to go to Kitchener for this? Unless you're a real super fan, it's tough to imagine how this is going to work. You fly into Pearson, you got to get out there. How are you going to get out there exactly? There's not even many hotels in the place. There's a couple of hotels, and I'm sure, you know, the prices are going to go up because supply is not going to be substantial. Like, and it's not like Allen, where we are right now. It's outside of Dallas, sure, but it's half an hour outside of Dallas. It's not, I mean, if you want to go from downtown Toronto to Kitchener, it's going to take you at least an hour and a half with traffic, and Toronto traffic is abysmal, as I'm sure many of you guys who live there full well know. So can't really spend much time in Toronto. Like, at least here you can spend some time in Dallas. There's plenty to do around the Allen venue, right? Allen is a city in its own right. I mean, it's Texas City. You guys know how it goes, but there's, you know, Topgolf here. There's things to do around the venue, which are great. There's plenty of hotels. It's not the same deal in Kitchener. Like, frankly, I hadn't even heard of it, right? So whoever's made these decisions deserves to get cooked for this. They will get cooked for this. I don't think it's going to work out in the favour here of the league. And yeah, I think it's just very frustrating after the last couple of years that we've had for it to go like this. But I'm sure we're going to discuss more about it over the coming days. Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comments below. I'll still probably be there. But, I mean, like, champs, like, I'll be there, right? Like, I want to be there, but with this Kitchener thing, I'm even questioning whether it makes the most sense. So yeah, not really what you want to see, but intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about some matches because there's plenty to get into. This was, I mean, I saw Dante walking around the venue today, and this guy looked like he owned the place. Like, he knows that he's playing some good COD right now, and that was not untrue today. Now, the day started out with a very interesting game because it was kind of a battle on some regard of, you know, who's going to be considered the onliner. There was some concern that Neptune, after his run online, may turn up to LAN and not really deliver. And the same was potentially expected of, you know, whether Gwinn would be the same story again, right? Gwinn Tenet, as they've been calling him and all this. And I ran into Gwynn's, you know, family. They were in the crowd today watching him from the side, and great people. It was really great to meet them. And even his mother was like, look, I also want Gwinn to show what he can do, because I think there's no doubting Gwynn's ability as a player. It's just been a question of, can he execute that on LAN, and when is that going to happen? Because it's not like Gwinn, you know, will never be able to achieve that. I certainly don't believe that's the case. Players that are good online will inevitably be good on LAN, but I think at some point it's probably in Gwynn's head to some degree about his performance. I don't think he plays the same way when, you know, on LAN that he does online. Maybe because, you know, he's thinking about it a fair bit. Who really knows, because the talent is certainly there, but he didn't have a good series here. Surge won the game one. It was an absolute banger game one, I'm not going to lie, but eventually Surge won. They closed out the game two as well, and when Ravens are losing searches, you know that it's basically chalked, and they went on to win the control as well. So this was really impressive, right? I thought this could be a game five, and it's not like it wasn't a close series. Like, the control was pretty close. It was a 3-2 on the end on the vault, but fundamentally Surge still hit them with the 3-0. Neptune had a great series, 1.2, plenty of impact in there. Gwynn's control was a bit better, but the other maps were, you know, not great. It's not like the rest of the team played especially well either. TJ had a really good game one, but yeah, just they needed that little bit extra, and that's when often online, you know, you see that from Gwinn. On LAN, we've not seen that so far, and there's a reason why, you know, Zoomer's on stream talking about how, you know, he's an onliner and all this, right? And it's difficult to argue with some of the evidence that we have seen so far, but, you know, they'll drop down to losers, they'll play the Falcons, I think, and, you know, it could be the start of a serious losers run. Another banger 3-0 was this one. I mean, this couldn't really have been as a series much closer. Just Toronto, again, I don't know what to think of them because I do think they've got a lot of potential, but I guess they're just breakers, right? That's one way to look at it, because this game one was a banger. Attach pops a 4-piece at the end of this game. 1, 2, 3, 4. It was like the Dashy 4-piece or 5-piece on Seaside, and they were kind of all one shot, but he cleaned them up and got the job done. Simp had a phenomenal game one as well here. I mean, look at this moment when, you know, they kind of got broken, and then Mack gets one, JoeDeceives is in the hill, Simp gets one, Simp guns CleanX, which was the crucial kill for the game, and they eventually win the game regardless. Simp then did another 1 versus 1 to close out the search and destroy as well, and then the control, they won it in a 3-2. So the control, it kind of felt like Cloud9 were always going to win it, but if you look at the map counts, you're like, oh my god, 252, 48, 65, 3-2. It doesn't really get any closer than that. We had some trash talk on the main stage, is why I love the cross-stage setup, really. And yeah, Beans had a really rough one here as well. He was not having the best time on really any of these maps. So lots potentially to say on that. But Cloud9 get the job done. They get the job done in a 3-0. Everyone played well. Again, Simp had his moments, but really the whole team was looking good. One team, though, not looking good. In the photos, sure. But in the matchup, not necessarily. And that is your Los Angeles Thieves. I was looking at this game and I was like, look, I can't really see a world where Boston beat them just because on recent evidence, even though I think the Boston are better, and I've said this now for some time, I think they're better than they have appeared lately because they've been playing FaZe. They've been playing Thieves. They've had very difficult series. And look, maybe Boston could have done better in some of those series, but it just felt like I wasn't sure the firepower was really going to be there. And Thieves probably came into this series expecting to get the job done without too much difficulty, but both of the hardpoints were just absolutely sensational to watch. And I think this is why I've been gassing up Snoopy for some time. I was of the opinion that keeping him around on Boston was definitely going to be the correct decision. I think that's undeniably proven to be the case, and at the end of the day, it seems they found the perfect SMG duo for him in many respects in Purge. The comms there are really on point between the pair of them as well. And honestly, today, Cammy, and Wake played well too, but Cammy was playing today like his career was on the line. And on some respects, maybe it is, because after a difficult Major 1, if this doesn't go to plan this Major, you know, Boston, Cammy, you know, maybe he was not in the league anymore. And if Cammy gets dropped from Boston, where does he go? Difficult to imagine that he's going to easily return. And Cammy was under a lot of pressure going into this event, but they delivered in spades. They won the search and destroy. They got slapped around, to be fair, in the control, but that is Thieves' absolute bread and butter. And then we got another banger hardpoint to close out the series. Thieves did not play the game that they would like to play. I mean, HyDra kind of got shut down all series. That's certainly a big talking point. But Boston just played really well. I think it's honestly more credit deserving to Boston here, at least in my opinion, than it is criticism to Thieves. Like, sure, Boston, like, Thieves will feel like they should have won the series, but man, Boston played some really good COD this series. I mean, the teamwork was on point, the trades were on point, they get the trades towards the end of the game as well. Cammy stands up and says a couple of things that you may be able to lip read. I'll at least give you the opportunity to do so. Maybe some more sensitivity training might need to come through relatively soon. But, you know, what a moment, right? Because Cammy was dropped off Thieves last year, let's not forget. Now he's on Boston and he takes them down. They've even done it earlier in the year as well. So, you know, the reaction here was great. I thought Awakening, he does seem to really love the Skyline hardpoint as well. And, of course, everyone was trolling Thieves as a result of this series, understandably. Nadeshot was not very happy about it either. So they're straight down to the losers bracket, which is not what I was expecting for their pre-tournament favourites. I mean, what is going on with this 7-0 curse? You go undefeated in the qualifiers, you get bopped out of the tourney. But, you know, what a performance in Boston. Thought it was super commendable. Cammy and Wake both played really well. Lots of impact, lots of engagement. But it was Snoopy the MVP of the series as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely no doubt about that. What a series. Envoy with a bit of a rough one. I'm sure that's going to cause a couple of questions. And the final series, just to quickly run through because it's not going to take long. Drazah and the FaZe boys against Minnesota Rocker. This was a slammage. And based on this evidence, you gotta say that OpTic will be pretty happy about the day's work, really. Like, they play Rocker tomorrow, a Rocker that ain't looking good. Paul X at a 0.5. I mean, you know, let's be real here. They might need to sub in Kenny tomorrow to play OpTic, and he might become the OpTic Reaper again, I don't know. But, yeah, that's how that went, and FaZe are now the tournament favourites. There's no doubt about it. They slapped Rocker around without too much difficulty at all. And Thieves are already out of the losers bracket. Can they make the three-peats happen? Who knows? Thieves might make a losers bracket run. Wow, there are lots of storylines emerging. So very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.